Thank you, Ken. Minister, last week the Celta Group announced the closure of the 2-day per week Cath Lab service at Sligo University Hospital. Now, Minister, this announcement sent shockwaves, not just throughout the community in Sligo, but in Leitrim, Roscommon, Donegal, Mayo and Cavan. This 2-day service is inadequate to begin with, and what we really need is a full-time service. But it's an absolute slap in the face that this 2-day per week service is being withdrawn. And I want to ask you, what steps were taken by the Minister, by the HSE, to stop this service closing at the end of June? Now, I sat in this chamber just a few weeks ago. I listened to the Taoiseach tell a deputy that the second Cath Lab in Waterford is being funded and that resources are in place for staff. And good luck to the people of Waterford, to the southeast. They absolutely need it. But what about the northwest? Why are we being bypassed again? North of a line from Dublin to Galway, we have no specialist centres. We have 2 in Dublin, 1 in Waterford, 1 in Cork, 1 in Limerick, 1 in Galway. If you read the National Heart Attack Audit Report, it is estimated that from the time of arrival at Sligo to arrival in Galway for a heart attack patient is around 3 hours. That's the median time. 90 minutes is the ideal time. Minister, what government can stand over this discrimination? I want you to explain to us this evening why this is happening.
Minister to respond.
I want to thank both deputies for raising this really serious issue, and I suppose I stand here with my other colleague from Waterford who is acting as Cathirlach tonight, and Cath Labs we could talk about all day long. And my very first speech in 2016 when I was elected, my very first speech was in relation to Cath Lab services in Waterford. Mobile cardiac Cath Lab services, as you know, has been provided at Sligo University by a private company, and I am informed by the HSE that the company concerned is to cease its provision of mobile Cath Lab services at SUH and indeed other hospitals in the Irish market at the end of June. As a result, the Celta University Hospital Group is working with hospital management on contingency measures to ensure adequate services are provided to patients. The HSE has advised that all options have been explored in relation to the continued provision of Cath Lab services in SUH after the cessation by the current service provider later this month. In light of these considerations and the lack of private service providers in the marketplace, it is not possible for the service to continue in SUH when the mobile service ends on the 30th of June. As a result, the service will temporarily be provided at University Hospital Galway. Strong clinical service links are in place currently between Sligo and Galway, with an existing cardiologist at SUH providing a sessional commitment at UHG. Designated access will be provided for Sligo patients at UHG Cath Lab unit. In relation to the review, and it's something that we're waiting patiently on as well, the National Review of Specialist Cardiac Services is in the final stages and is due to be published shortly. This review will set out the roadmap for future delivery for cardiac services nationally. The National Review of the Cardiac Services commenced, as you said, in January 2018 under the chairmanship of Professor Philip Nolan, and a steering group formed from nominations of interested stakeholders representing medical professional, technical staff, nursing and patient representatives. The aims of the Cardiac Services Review is to achieve optimal patient outcomes as population levels, with particular emphasis on the safety, quality and sustainability of the service that patients receive by establishing the need for an optimal configuration of a national adult cardiac service. This aligns with the Sláintecare Reform Programme. In terms of scope, the National Review covers scheduled and unscheduled hospital-based services for the diagnosis and treatment of cardiac disease in adults. I know the answer that I have read out to you there you're going to be extremely disappointed with. As I've said, we have all come together in Waterford and the South East for many, many years, trying to achieve what we are trying to do, which is cardiac services, an extension of ours. And I can only understand how devastated you are that the limited cardiac service you have, because the provider, the private provider, and I'm sure it's the same private provider that was providing services in Waterford previously on a 3-day week. I assume that it's the same provider. I can't say for definite, but apparently they are ceasing to operate in the country completely, and it is, you know, leaving you in a situation, I have to be honest, when I read the reply before I came down, you know, it's devastating news for you. It absolutely is. And I understand exactly what Deputy Harkin said. You're talking about a 3-hour journey from some parts of, and we all know how important, how time is so important. But I will bring back your concerns to Minister Donnelly. I certainly will. And I'll just listen to what you have to say again.
Thank you, Minister. And look, I don't doubt your sincerity, and I've looked at your answer. You talk about the HSE has advised that all options have been explored. What were those options? When did they know? What did they do? We're getting absolutely no information. And you're talking about when you came in here first. I have here Deputy Eamon Scanlon, back in 2018, a colleague of yours, raised this issue here, and he also spoke about the fact that if we don't have a permanent Cath Lab at Sligo, that has serious implications for the recruitment of an additional cardiologist. And anybody who's in Sligo knows that that is staring us in the face right now. It's not just the Cath Lab. This answer tells us that strong clinical links are in place, perfect between Sligo and Galway. But the time to get there, you said 3 hours from some places. Minister, that's the median time. It's not the longest. The longest is between 5 and 6. I didn't quote the longest time. So, Minister, I don't blame you personally. You read what's here, but I've heard one excuse after another. It's time we got answers. We need them.
And I can understand how upset and annoyed and disappointed you are in relation to what has transpired. As I said, we have had so many conversations ourselves in relation to cardiac supports and how important they are. And as I outlined earlier, the HSE has advised that all options have been explored in relation to the continued provision of Cath Lab services in SUH after the cessation by the current service provider later this month, and has exited the Irish market will exit the Irish market completely at the end of June, which is really, really disappointing. I know you're disappointed with the answer. I know you're disappointed, Deputy, with the detail that's in it. But I will bring this back to Minister Donnelly. You can rest assured on that. And, you know, I can go through the letter and the response and tell you what has been provided in Galway. But I understand that we do need a good service in Galway as well, but we need services everywhere, and especially in relation to cardiac. I understand completely. As I said, it has been a huge battle of ours in the South East for so many years, and I know ye have been raising it, and I know ye have all come together as a collective to raise it in the North West. But I will certainly pass on your concerns, and I've no doubt this will be raised again on the floor of the Dáil.